Hi, guys. Today is day 6 in our little study on Koinonia. And I wanted to talk about living out our forgiveness. It's really, truly a divine call in such a broken world. God calls us to live out our forgiveness, not merely as a concept, but actually as a daily practice that reflects His heart. While there's wisdom in guarding our hearts and setting healthy boundaries, we mustn't allow that caution to turn into coldness. Forgiveness was modeled by Christ, and it demands more than avoidance. It requires surrender, really. So forgiveness doesn't always feel like freedom at first. It really does feel like that, like surrender. And when someone has wounded us deeply, we automatically build walls that protect our hearts. And, while that caution can be wise, Jesus reminds us that we can never let it override that calling, that divine calling for us to forgive. So forgiveness is not passive. It doesn't ignore the offense. It doesn't pretend everything is fine or allow unhealthy cycles to continue. Instead, it's choosing to release the offender from control over our emotions and entrusting our hurts to God's justice. So forgiveness isn't forgetting, that's for sure. Instead, it's the brave choice not to let the offense define your spirit. And Paul says in Ephesians 4:32, he says, "Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ forgave you." So to forgive is to release someone from a debt, even when the emotional receipts remain. It's that transaction of the soul, one where freedom outweighs the fairness, right? So take the example of someone betrayed by a friend. The pain might linger for years, but choosing forgiveness allows the healing to begin. It means saying, I will not rehearse this. I will not replay this over in my head daily. And, that's not weakness. It's actually a strength. It's a strength that's rooted in love. So Jesus actually did show us this kind of strength repeatedly. And if you recall, when he was on the cross, he uttered words that literally defy logic. I could have never done it. And he says, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." And that's in Luke 23:34. So even in his agony, he still chose mercy. He wasn't denying the wrongdoing. It was a declaration that his love for them, for us, would have the final word. So let's think about this. In everyday life, what can forgiveness look like? It can look like choosing not to gossip about someone who hurt us. It can be, answering an angry email with grace. It can be allowing a sibling or a spouse or a friend a second chance without any kind of, passive or, resentment, really. It's choosing peace over pettiness. And I guess really it's, choosing eternity over your ego, right? So forgiveness is definitely not forgetting, though. It's choosing not to relive that hurt. We said that. It's not about fairness, definitely. It doesn't feel fair, but it's about freeing your soul. And even about freeing the soul of the person you're forgiving. If you relay that forgiveness to them, you're also freeing them. And it's definitely not weakness. It's a fierce love in action, a divine love that is so fierce, that we're called to do, that we're called to live out. And yes, sometimes forgiveness means walking away. And Jesus did that too, when he was rejected in Nazareth, for example. And that's in Luke chapter 4, verses 16 to 30. And he didn't force acceptance. He simply moved forward, showing that forgiveness doesn't require that continual exposure to a toxic situation. So in Colossians 3:13, it reminds us that bearing with one another and forgiving one another, even as Christ forgave you, you must also do. The weight of this, this is something that you must do. It's not a punishment, but it's an invitation to freedom, not just for the offender, but for you also. So let's remember that not forgiving causes division. And division is definitely not koinonia. It's not that deep spiritual relationship, that intimate relationship that we're looking for. So unforgiveness actually quietly, it erodes the foundation of koinonia, the deep spirit-led fellowship that God designed for you and I, for his people. And when we hold on to bitterness, even in a subtle way, it creates invisible walls between our hearts that were meant to be united. Think about that. Jesus warned, a house divided against itself cannot stand. That's Mark 3:25. Division fractures our effectiveness and dims the light that we were called to shine as Christians. So forgiveness is not optional, it's essential. And reconciliation sets us back on the path to koinonia, that beautiful spiritual intimacy that we are all called to. And Paul urges us in Colossians 3:13 to forgive as the Lord forgave you, because unity in the body depends on it. And like a body with disjointed limbs, a church marked by grudges, it can't move forward in a mission of maturity, in kingdom work. So forgiveness is the glue of fellowship, truly. And without it, we trade that divine intimacy for self-imposed isolation. It doesn't sound like a good alternative to me. But when we choose unity through mercy, we give the world a glimpse of heaven's love in action. Think about that. People are watching us. So today, let's guard our hearts, but not barricade them. Let's let caution be wise, but not bitter. Let forgiveness flow, not from feeling, but from faith. And when it's hard, remember, you're never forgiving alone. You're echoing heaven. And so today, let's decide to be obedient to God's call for our lives and step out and forgive others and strive for that beautiful koinonia in our communities.